Welcome to Movement RX Quarantine Life, where I discuss healthy and unhealthy ways of dealing with stress. In my prior video, I discussed the two coping strategies for stress, the problem-focused and the emotional-focused methods. And in this video, I will discuss common feelings and behaviors we use to process our circumstances that might be a little unpleasant. I'll start off by talking about some of the unhealthy forms. They're very easy for us to fall into because they appear to be soothing behaviors. Even though they add to our problem, they do not help us fix it. Do check if any of these described actions below are resonating with you. Are they something that you incorporate in your stress management routine? Once we can identify some of these things, we can make corrections as necessary, if necessary. Physical pain is the first one. Many of us unconsciously clench our jaws or our fists. We develop muscle tension, especially in the neck and the shoulder area, all of which can lead to unexplained physical pain. We don't know why, we're aching. This is actually our body responding to our progression towards anxiety. Anyone who has suffered an anxiety attack will recognize the physical symptoms of stress, but for those of us who have never suffered a severe attack, this may be foreign to us. Some shared symptoms between anxiety and excess stress are an upset stomach, shortness of breath, rapid heart rate, high blood pressure, hyperventilating, another one, weakness and feeling tired and lethargic, generalized pain. Some people get it up in the neck and shoulders, which is the majority, but some get it in the lower back, some get it around the joints, depending on your particular situation. So these might be a little bit foreign to you, but there's one that's common to us all right now, which is difficulty sleeping, otherwise known as insomnia. Experiencing occasional anxiety and stress is normal. It's normal in life to be, a little anxious sometimes, a little bit on the stressed out side. This current condition that we are in is bringing on repeated change, which generates repeated episodes of sudden feelings, and different, all kinds of difficulties. So right now with this COVID-19 pandemic and the hysteria behind it, and with all of our responsibilities, individual and collective responsibilities included, it's making for some intense reactions, which is what this video is trying to help us wrap our heads around. Another one that comes to mind for me is overeating and or emotional eating. Stress triggers us to eat when we're not even hungry. Or we might even just skip out on our normal day-to-day exercise routines. In contrast, we might eat a little bit less. We might not feel hungry and we start losing weight, and when we eat less, that definitely supports the feeling tired and the lethargy that some of us do feel. Extreme boredom can cause extreme stress, right? And this might push us to overconsume food in order for us to subconsciously feel like we're in control of our environment and our life direction. So it's subconsciously our way of trying to maintain some form of control over us, which is why food, which is definitely consumable, we control what we consume or not. Some people change their hair, cut their hair, do something to their physical appearance to help cope with that feeling of lack of control. So overeating, undereating, emotional eating is definitely an area that all of us should be aware of. If we fall into that category, we learn real control, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. Irritability and anger. Extroverts are probably more prone to this one than the introverted personalities, but nonetheless, all of us can fall into irritability and anger issues when we are stressed out. Stress leaves some of us with a short temper. Right? Myself, it's a live wire. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know what's going to trigger it. It's just I'll act differently or react differently to things that at that present time aren't necessarily something that I want to deal with. And I'm not overly a pleasant person when I deal with that particular scene. So, when we're under pressure, we may find ourselves arguing with people for no reason, co-workers, family members, loved ones, or we might even be a little overly authoritative in terms of dealing with our children. The discipline that we levy on transgressions to them might be a little bit off from what the actual transgression was. So these are all subtle things that we can pay attention to, and if we find that we're reacting in similar fashions to what I just described, we know that we're under a lot of stress and we have to activate some healthier ways of coping for it. Hypersensitivity and crying. A lot of us, especially people that are more prone to the emotional coping method of dealing with stress than the problem focused method, stress might trigger sudden crying episodes or heavy emotional episodes at that, oftentimes without warning. Little things unrelated to the actual stressor in your life might leave you in tears. You may also feel very lonely suddenly for no reason. I talked about loneliness in one of my prior videos. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you go and watch my video on loneliness. None of that is real. It's just induced by the sudden rush of the chemicals that the stress is bringing to us. And those chemicals oftentimes replicate and do come out in form of emotion. Right? So understanding that your emotional upheaval that's bringing on those tears or that feeling of loneliness is a chemical reaction to a stressor that's in your life is another thing that we can look out for in terms of how we're reacting and look for alternate healthier forms of it. Anxiety and depression disorders. Sometimes stress is too much. Some might need to just walk away and avoid the problem altogether. Other people have to call in sick. I talked a little bit in my last video about people that go on stress leave, where stress becomes depression, or at least it's at the beginning stages of it, where it's immobilized you and become debilitating for at least the work elements in your life. You can no longer take that on. So if you're at that position where stress is becoming too much, you have to be mindful that it does have the ability and the strength to become something more powerful than the stressor intended. You know, all these stressors don't intend to push you into a darker space, but they often do if we don't handle them with effective methods or healthy methods. Fact, chronic stress is a factor in the development of depression and anxiety disorders. So anybody that does have depression or suffering through anxiety attacks and disorders of the like, stress was the precursor to that. That was our body's method of warning us that there was too much in our environment at that particular time for us to handle. And, you know, we now can see through medical studies that depression is triggered by certain aspects of stress, as is anxiety, and we've got certain activities that we can do and enable ourselves to counteract that a little more effectively. Even when if you are suffering from depression and you do have anxiety-driven attacks, some of these methods will allow you to prevent those triggers from maybe putting you into an episode. Negativity, when we don't cope with our stress in healthy ways, we automatically expect the worst. And that could be the worst of our environments, the worst of the people around us, the worst of our loved ones. These are activating what I talked about earlier in emotional habits. Right? We've all grown comfortable with our emotional habits and the ways that they make us feel better. And I'll use alcohol as the example in this case because, sure, drinking that wine or other alcoholic beverage might allow you to feel like you are taking the edge off. But the fact behind these products are that they are only perceived as good behaviors by us because they silence a negative feeling. Anything that silences what is painful and what is scary is going to come across and look as it's good. But they're not fixing the problem. The use of alcohol, drugs, or other immediate self-gratification or self-medicating measures merely masks the stress and oftentimes adds even more to the stress due to depleted self-value. It creates self-worth issues, physical impairments, body toxicity levels go through the roof, and identity confusion that often comes after their use. As they are only effective in numbing the effects of the pain, they're not effective at allowing us a chance at correcting whatever caused that feeling in the first place. So if by any chance you have the ability to avoid using those products or going through those self-medicating processes, by all means, please do. If you struggle with addictions or you have emotional behaviors and habits that take you into those areas in silencing a more painful issue, definitely reach out to your closest loved ones or a confidant. If it's darker and a little bit deeper, go to the professionals. They know what you're going through and they can help you. So here are my healthier options for dealing with stress and minor anxieties. Exercise, home exercise, obviously is my big push here on Movement RX. Physical activity is the foundation of having a better life. It balances us in every aspect because it releases endorphins. Endorphins in the brain oftentimes are an immediate mood changer. They stabilize your moods. They can bring you out of a funk. But now that the gym has been stripped from us, how do we get through when we are so limited in what we can do with our bodies? Push-ups. If push-ups and crunches are not your thing, go to yoga. Yoga sessions are something you can do at home. Getting through a vigorous stretching routine. Whenever stress rears its ugly head, there are physical activities that we can do. If you're not into the physical activity in the traditional sense, as in working out, growing up on a farm, understand how much work you put into gardening. Getting out into the yard and doing yard work, that is physical activity. And if you are accustomed to doing that or have the ability to do that, that's going to provide the same reaction in your brain chemicals as doing a yoga session or a vigorous stretching routine. So whatever you have at your disposal, definitely see it through. Sure, we might have to, keep our distance while we're walking in public spaces right now, but we all have something around the house or in our yards or available to us that will get us moving and get those endorphins flowing inside our brains. On the yoga sphere, there is meditation, or for religious folks, there's prayer, right? Those two elements bring you healing in many ways, including our needs when it comes to worry, anxiety, and restlessness. Our mind is a powerful tool, and once you channel the abilities of our mind, your entire world can and will change. I spoke a little bit more in depth about this in terms of the emotional focus coping methods with stress. Definitely go back to that video and rewatch that, because how we perceive with our brain is what the world's going to provide us, right? So our perception is part of our brain power. Taking that element and using that to enhance your emotional responses in terms of the stresses in your life is going to go a long way for you. Instead of overeating your perceived control, actually take control. And I spoke about overeating in the sense of when we overeat or we overconsume while we're in these periods of boredom or stress, that's our body's way of trying to subconsciously allow us the idea that we're in control. We're in control of our environment. We're in control of the way our life is going, our life direction. It's a subconscious way to remind us that we're in control. So we apply it to food. Or in some cases, people cut their hair or radically change their look or want to go on a shopping therapy. All kinds of different things we do that are within our immediate control to help combat stress and bordering depression symptoms, right? So we can take this time right now to actually take control. It's not a perception. We can actually take control by focusing on dietary cleanup. Task yourself with a review of and a revision of your regular food supplies. Cravings, and I'll give you a little lecture on cravings here. Cravings are only there because we feed our bodies with products that develop bacteria inside us, and that bacteria in return needs that food source to survive. That's right, I just said cravings are not your own. So if you have mad cravings for sugar and sweets, it's because you've allowed your body to develop bacteria in your stomach that require sugars and sweets in order to live. So that bacteria in turn tells you it needs its food source, which makes you crave sugar and sweets. Take out your frustrations right now on these needy little self-centered bastards living inside our stomachs. They are the reason we don't fit into our clothing from 5 years ago. Greedy little asshats, get rid of them. Right? Focus your energy, do what you can, change your diet, take control and attack the craving, because it's not yours. It's just the bacteria that's living there that you've allowed to. On top of this, research and commit vitamin supplementation. vitamin supplementation to provide your body with the right nutrients to empower yourself through stressful times. Yes, vitamins can assist with us in how we cope with stress. Right? And in my next video, I'll go through a list of vitamins and how they help when it comes to stress. Create your life mantra. Take a step inside and see who you really are, right? Who you're hiding on the inside. Stand in your truth, right? My life mantra is life. It really isn't as hard as we choose to live it. Right? If anybody wants more information on my life philosophy inside my mantra, please feel free to DM me and I'll be happy to expand on it and explain it to you. But for everybody else, you will never understand the power in self-affirming statements like a mantra, how far that'll take you. Right? Every morning, every time stress comes up, you just recite that mantra that you created for yourself. It'll help get you through whatever that is. It might not defeat the stressor, but it'll help you get through. And that's what we're looking to do, is give us assistance in coping with stress. Laughter. I actually enjoyed, creating this portion of the video because I appreciate laughter and comedy a lot. Watching a comedy or a fail clip on YouTube, even when those little clips on YouTube where the kids say the greatest things, those compilations make me laugh, and laughter is fuel for my soul. It might not be for yours, and if it's not, I certainly implore that you try to make it, because laughter is a great medicine for whatever's ailing you. Other things that we can do in terms of generating laughter, especially if you have kids, play a funny game with your kids. They might not be old enough to fully understand charades. Play charades with them and have them act out what their idea of that particular setting is. And at the same time, video record it so you have some really good quality content for when they get married and you want to embarrass them. Outside of that, if you don't have kids, do something really out of the ordinary. Put on an eye patch, mess up your hair, throw on some old clothes that you have no plan on keeping, video chat with a family member, let them know that you've joined a pirate club and that one day you're going to own part of the Atlantic Ocean, right? When they ask how and they call you crazy, all that kind of stuff, have fun with it, right? Open up your creative, comical side, make some people laugh, and if the other people don't laugh, at least laugh at yourself, right? Again, remember, life, it isn't as hard as we choose to live it. Another area that I really enjoy talking about, and it's something I'm fairly new to, but I'm surrounded by a lot of great quality people that have taken this plunge, decluttering. We work 40 to 70 hours per week, and over time we lose control of our lives. This is a great time to de-stress by decluttering. Right? The benefits of decluttering go far beyond the visible result of having a clean home or office space, but rather it is a magnificent way to regain control of your home, your life, your emotions, and all the stuff you have stored away. This task alone will improve your overall well-being. So take advantage of this time that we have right now, which is filled with stress, to clear out some of your physical, mental, and emotional space to allow for more prosperous, productive, and expansiveness coming in for us in the days ahead. We all have stuff buried or stored away that weighs us down and maybe, let me correct myself, is a contributor to the stress that we're going to be under or are under at the present moment. Right? So take some time. I really, really urge you all to take some time to seek guidance and clarity on the benefits of decluttering, as well as assistance in getting started in the decluttering of your stuff, right? You can do it by reaching out to one of my great contacts. Her name is Heather, and she's at Declutter for Change. She's on Instagram, so I'll leave her page name in the comment section, but definitely reach out to Heather at Declutter for Change. She can walk you through, give you some professional guidance on what decluttering is, how it's going to benefit you, and what it can do for you and your family in terms of making it that much easier. Outside of kickstarting that with stress recovery, with decluttering, and all of that which I've listed, you now have my take on some unhealthy and some healthy ways to deal with stress. How many did you identify with? Take that back with you after this video. process it and understand yourself a little bit better. In my next video, we'll discuss vitamin supplementation that can be used to help fight stress and how nutrition plays a big role in how we are able to cope with our stress. Thank you for supporting My Movement RX, and please like, share, and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at My Movement RX. I'm also on Facebook at My Movement RX as well. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay fit. Movement RX. We are meant to move. Feed your fire.